Well, hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Art Subcheck, president of the sales training company Business by Phone and author of the book, Smart Calling, Eliminate the Fear, Failure, and Rejection from Cold Calling. On this program, in just a minute, Crystal Thies, the LinkedIn Ninja, will show you valuable LinkedIn strategies, techniques, and word-for-word messaging to help you avoid common mistakes that kill sales and waste time. And then I'll show you exactly what to do to get through to and have meaningful conversations with interested decision makers who will buy from you. That's how powerful LinkedIn can be when it's combined with solid, proven sales strategies and messaging. Thanks to InsideSales.com for sponsoring and putting on the webinar here today. And let's get right to a promise we have for you and the material. So you already know how big LinkedIn is, right? There's over 280 million users, and their goal is to have over 3 billion. Yeah, that's with a B. But if you're like a lot of people with a LinkedIn profile, you hear the stories about how it's supposed to help you get business, but maybe it's just not happening for you. Sure, you got an account set up, you get those connection requests, but you're wondering about that secret sauce that everybody talks about. And more importantly, you're probably experiencing the same thing as other salespeople. You're not getting through to prospects. Your voicemails and emails are ignored. Screeners are giving you the brush off. Let's face it, it is harder today than ever to get to buyers. And you really have very little chance of selling to people if you're not speaking with them. So here's our promise to you here today that I mentioned. In this webinar, Crystal Thies, the LinkedIn Ninja, is going to show you the 7 mistakes that most salespeople make on LinkedIn and what you can easily do to uncover some of those secrets that you hear about and take the mystery away from how LinkedIn can really benefit you. You're going to see actual screenshots of real LinkedIn accounts. But we're not stopping there. That's how this training is going to be different today. You see, there are people who have mastered the technical part of LinkedIn, but they're still not getting sales. Why? Because you still have to sell. LinkedIn on its own will not do the selling for you. And bad salespeople just become worse when they're bothering people on LinkedIn. Well, don't worry, because on my part of the webinar, I'm going to show you how to actually use what you do with LinkedIn to get through to and speak with people who can and will buy from you. You're going to get word-for-word messaging that you can use in your voicemails, in-mails, emails, and with your buyers. You're going to sound like a polished, confident, smooth professional. So I want to make sure that we're talking to the right people here. So if those are the things that you're looking for, go over to your Q&A box and just type in heck yes into that. Would you do that for me right now? Just if that's what you're looking for, if I have the right type of people here. All right. Heck yes. Yeah. Good. All right. So something else for you. At the end of this program, we've got some free gifts for you. And what you're going to get at the end of this program will be more free LinkedIn training. We're going to give you a link to another webinar where Crystal actually does some LinkedIn profile makeovers. I've got a fill-in-the-blanks opening statement template for you that you'll be able to plug in and use for your opening statements and voicemails. And actually, we're going to give you all the slides today. And then here's something else. I'm going to give you a personal review of your own call opening. So more on that at the end of the program, so stick around. All right, so grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to take plenty of notes here. Oh, by the way, this program is being recorded, and we both, Crystal and I, talk pretty quickly, and we've got a lot to cover. So if you miss anything, you'll be able to see the replay, and it's going to be available right here at the same link you used to get here. And if you have questions, you can type them into that Q&A box over to the right side of your screen, and we'll be getting to those at the very end of the program as well. All right, so we're going to start out with the LinkedIn mistakes presented by Crystal Thies, the LinkedIn Ninja. Now, allow me to tell you a brief story here about how Crystal and I partnered up on our comprehensive LinkedIn for Sales Success training program that I'll tell you about at the end as well. I've suggested for a long time that professional salespeople have got to be proficient at LinkedIn if they want to do smart call prospecting and sales. And I was seeing many of my clients struggle getting the most from LinkedIn, and I knew there needed to be a top-shelf LinkedIn training program for salespeople, just like us, one that showed us how to use LinkedIn to get business. But I'm not the LinkedIn expert, and I knew I wasn't the guy to create the program. So I searched, and I found a lot of people who called themselves social media gurus, and they claimed LinkedIn as one of the things that they were experts in. And many of those people, from what I could tell, were salespeople like you and me, whose income relied on calling people and making sales. They were desk jockeys who wrote blogs and tweets on social media. And I couldn't find a great LinkedIn training program written and delivered by a salesperson, just like you, who built a business making sales calls using LinkedIn. And I didn't want someone who just wrote about it. I wanted someone who used it as a salesperson to make money. That's when I found Crystal. At first, I was a bit skeptical because she called herself the LinkedIn Ninja, and my reaction was, okay, well, let's see if she's got the goods to back that up. So I reached out to her on LinkedIn, I read her content, and then I went through every module of a course she already had created for salespeople in her financial niche, and I was blown away. I knew I found the right person. As you're going to see, she doesn't give theory or woo-woo fluff. She gives rock-solid how-to instruction. She lives this stuff. She's obsessed with LinkedIn, and that's exactly what I was looking for in something and someone I was going to put my name and reputation behind. Not a LinkedIn part-timer or some out-of-work speaker who called themselves an expert in the next hottest thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Crystal Thies, the LinkedIn Ninja.
Thanks, Art, and I am really excited to be here. As Art said, I do have a lot of information to go over. Actually, when they saw the number of the slides, they're like, are you really going to be able to fit all that in? I'm like, I talk really, really fast, but that's why we're recording it. So let's start with our first mistake, because as the title says, I'm going to cover 6 LinkedIn mistakes. And the very first one, and it is kind of what I consider to be a big overarching concept mistake. Now, some of the mistakes that we're going to get to are going to be very small, tiny, itty-bitty little detailed things. Some of them are these kind of big concept types of mistakes. And the one thing I can tell you is that when we are done here, you'll be able to implement all of these things immediately, and you will definitely see results. Art and I get feedback from the participants of this webinar all the time that says, oh my God, I just made this one little tweak, and look at how much more visibility I'm getting. So I promise you, these will make a huge impact on your success immediately. So mistake number 1 is what I call bad overall positioning. Now, this is a mistake that almost every salesperson initially makes because LinkedIn has built a platform that doesn't make you automatically think about positioning yourself. You know, if you go into LinkedIn the very first time and you start just simply filling out all the fields in your LinkedIn profile with the content that LinkedIn is asking you to put in there, you end up with what I call a job seeker profile. And since the majority of you, I'm assuming, are on this webinar today because you're trying to use it for sales and business development, you want to get business, you're not trying to find a job, having a job seeker profile is not going to help you, because your profile ends up being all about your job skills. So when we look at the different summaries of salespeople, that their summary is built explaining how great of a sales person they are. They're talking about being able to drive gains in revenue, market share, profit performance. They are looking at talking about having great experience in revenue generation, contract, these are really great things if you're trying to get a job as a salesperson. But what if your prospect is looking at this type of a profile? If all the content on your profile is about how great of a salesperson you are, that you're great at taking a cold hard lead and converting it to a new client for the best possible ROI, that's how the hamburger's made. Do you want to know how the hamburger's made? Do you think your clients care about how the hamburger's made? Actually, they probably do, and they probably don't want to know that they are being treated like a piece of meat, which if you really highlight how great of a salesperson you are, as opposed to talking to that target market that you're trying to sell to, then you're going to make them feel like a piece of meat. And why should they even contact you? How do they know what to contact you about? They just know, oh, you're a great salesperson. If they know someone who's trying to find a salesperson, they may refer you to that, but it's not going to help you grow your sales. So you really need to kind of take a step back put yourself in the shoes of that target market. And no matter what LinkedIn is saying what this field should be, you need to be thinking about, what do I need to say to my target market to get them to take action, to make them want to connect with me, to make them want to click through, look at my profile first and foremost, maybe click through and look at some of the media that are on my profile, maybe even go to the website. What do I need to say to them? And so from the headline to your summary to your media files, everything in your profile should be talking to the target market. Your profile is more about your target market than it is about you if you're looking to try to sell with LinkedIn. So, I was wondering, are the people on this webinar, are they using LinkedIn? Are they advanced? Am I going to be giving them baby steps? I was wondering if we could maybe find out who's on this webinar and how sophisticated they are with LinkedIn. Can we get you guys to jump in and take a little bit of a poll here?
Yeah, let's
so
go ahead and do that. There you go. You can go ahead and handle it.
Yep. So, regarding your LinkedIn use and sales, would you say you're advanced? Would you say use it often but need to get better, sometimes use it, or don't even know how to log in? So if you guys could just take a quick second to click on those, where you fit in, and we will go and let's take a look here at the results. Okay, we have 16% are advanced users. Uh-oh, I better make sure I'm on my game today. 48% said they use it often but need to get better. 33% need to use it more. Less than 2% don't even know how to log in. So great. What that tells me is we've got some really motivated people in the audience here to really learn how to use this more effectively. So that's pretty exciting. So let's move on to mistake number 2. Your headline isn't optimized. Now, the headline is the most important field in the entire LinkedIn profile. Yes, I slowed down, way slowed down to tell you that because it is really, really important. And it's also important that you understand what I mean when I say headline, because the headline is not your title. The headline is that field right below your name. Your title is what's in the experience section. So the headline is the most important field in LinkedIn because it's the one piece of information that you control that follows you around everywhere. Now, this is a feature, and its prominence is growing even greater. That it's in change with LinkedIn right now. So some of you, depending on if you've got the new homepage or not, you may be seeing things a little bit differently, but how LinkedIn has been operating lately is that they have these little pop-ups. And so on your homepage, in the LinkedIn groups and the like, you'd see the person, their picture, their name, and if you hovered over their name, you got these little pop-ups. And the pop-up has their headline in it, which is why I said this follows you around everywhere you go and engage in LinkedIn. And if people hover, they're going to read this headline and they're going to click through, and that's what's going to get them to click through and look at you. But LinkedIn is making it even more prominent with their formatting changes. No longer do people have to actually hover and click to see your headline. As you see right here, this is a status update on my homepage. It is right there, right in bold underneath your name. It is there. So what does your headline say? Is it going to make people take action? Because that's what its ultimate purpose is to get them to want to click through. So if your headline is just your title, general manager at Relevant Work, what does it tell you? Well, yeah, they're in authority, they have decision making, but what is Relevant Work? It's the name of the company. Does the name tell me enough to know what the company is about? Why should I want to? And if you can't answer, oh, that looks interesting, then somebody's not going to click through. So these headlines are following you around on the home page, and here you can see another important component as you're thinking about developing your headline. We're going to talk about the specifics of it, is that with this new formatting, is that it only fits in about the first 80 characters of your headline. So you get 120 characters in your headline, but now you want to think about how do I arrange the messaging of the headline to make sure you get your most important one on, the most important part of your message there, and that you don't end up in the little dots at the end, the most important part that you want people to know and to see, and that will compel them to click through. And as I mentioned, this is even changing in the LinkedIn groups. So when you post content here in the LinkedIn groups, your headline is attached immediately underneath your name. So people see that. They're going to see exactly what you're about. So now you may be wondering, well, what makes a really good headline? But actually before we get to that real quick, LinkedIn, for those of you who may have your title, LinkedIn might have tricked you into doing that. And one thing to pay attention to when you're filling out your experience section is that there's this little box that's pre-checked that will say, change my headline to my new title. And so you can inadvertently overwrite your headline, so just be careful of that. So it may not be 100% your fault. But so your headline, what should it do? It needs to answer 2 to 3 questions. What you do from a functional standpoint, who you serve, and what results do you get. So those are the 3 things that you want to get in there. And what I want to share with you now, because some of you may be thinking, well, I'm an employee, I'm part of a sales team, there are 10 of us, we're all selling the same thing. How can we make our headline unique? Well, I want to share a couple of examples of one of my clients that I've worked with that all of these salespeople sell the exact same product. It is a machine. And they are selling to some different verticals, and there's some different value propositions that they use, and so they've been able to develop their headlines differently. So they don't have to be 100% all the same across your sales team. So here's Scott Jones, custom packaging expert, helping companies decrease expenses and shipping damage while increasing customer satisfaction. And we have James, custom packaging expert, helping companies create a lean and sustainable supply chain. So a different value proposition there. And Lauren, custom packaging expert, helping companies to realize sustainable recyclable packaging design and support. Now the one thing you will see common across all of those is the custom packaging expert component, because that is the search optimization term. We're going to talk about being found in search optimization later, but your search optimization term needs to be in this headline as well. That's the only part that's exactly the same across them, but they do answer the 3 questions that I had. What do you do from a functional standpoint? That's a custom packaging expert. Who do you help? You know, companies, they kept it really, really basic. You can get more specific. And what results do you deliver? Realize sustainable recyclable packaging design. So answering those questions, that's going to be what's going to make people say, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me learn more. Let me click through and let me learn more about you. So let's move on to mistake number 3. Your summary doesn't speak to your target. Now, this is kind of taking our first mistake and going a little bit more tight and detailed. The summary part of the profile is your primary marketing message. And that is the part where you're actually talking directly to your target market. And if you're doing what a lot of salespeople do here who have those job seeker, you're identifying just kind of your career history and everything that you've done up until today. And as you probably know, when you're in sales and business development, you want to be talking about what's happening right now, what's going to be available in the future. And so for you guys, your summary is not a bio. It's not about the past. It's your elevator speech. It's about taking that primary message and delivering it, talking in first person, I, active verbs, present tense. This is what I do. These are the services we provide. This is what's different about us compared to our competitors. These are the people we help most. These are the results that we get. So you want to be talking about yourself in first person. Do not talk about yourself in third person. Focus on what is that message that you need to deliver to get someone to want to learn more, to want to take action. And so here I want to share an example of one of my clients who I think did a really, really good job of combining their personal message with the company message, because I'm guessing a lot of you out there are probably employee sales people. And so your profile is your own personal asset. But if you're using it for sales and business development and you're being compensated based on your success that way, then you're also kind of using it on your company's behalf. And so mixing the two can get a little tricky sometimes. And so Here he starts out with the I first. It's your profile. You're the salesperson. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So you start out with you. I am a business development manager focused on optimizing my customers' IT infrastructure. So it starts with I. Now he brings in the company. We are laser focused. So talking about what the company is good at. We have a proven consultative approach. This is how we work with our clients. Our staff has worked for market leaders. So still more about them, and then it ends with, I work to create a win-win situation with my clients. So, this is definitely a very different message than saying, hey, I'm really great at taking that cold hard lead and converting it to a new client with the best possible ROI. It's making the client and the potential client feel, I look to find win-win. So it's all about the client, not about you as being a great, super awesome salesperson. So balance the message to highlight what's best about you as the salesperson, and then what's best about the company and why the company should be chosen. Okay, mistake number 4, not search optimizing your profile. Now, I'm sure a bunch of you out there are really hoping to be found by people who are in need of your products and services. And in order to be found, you have to show up in the search results. And how you build out your profile is very, very tricky to make sure that you show up in those search results. And it's a bit of a technical situation. LinkedIn does not tell us exactly what you need to do. And a lot of the training programs out there will say, well, you just need to saturate your profile with all of your keywords. Well, I actually don't take that approach. I tell my clients, you want to look or pick at least 1, 2 to 3 word phrase. You can sometimes optimize for up to 2, that your potential client, your prospect, what would they search for if they were looking for the products and services that you offered, keeping in mind that they're looking for the person who's offering it. So think about that. What would they search in Google to find you? So they're not going to look for a vice president. They're not going to look for a sales manager or a sales representative. They're going to be looking for terms that are focused on the products and services that you offer. And so once you pick that phrase, it's obviously for me, LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn consultant, those are the types of terms that I'm optimized for. Logistics, shipping supplier. Think about what are those types of terms, depending on what your industry is that your people are looking for. Once you've figured out what that is, and you've picked the primary one, the one that most people are most likely going to search for, you need to put it in some very key parts of the profile. Simple saturation is not going to get it done. It needs to be in the headline. You need to get it in multiple titles. Now, this means you've got to manipulate your title a lot of times, because if your official title is sales representative, there's no good keywords in there. Sales representative providing small business loans. The small business loans is your key search term. You want to get that in there. You want to get it in as many titles as possible, 2 to 3 if you can make it work. In the summary multiple times. In the skills section, the publications, recommendations, and honors and awards are really extra kickers in getting you higher in the search rankings, because those are outside validations. So if you were featured or mentioned or interviewed or even wrote an article that's in an external publication and your keywords are in the title of that article, you want to have that on there. When other people write recommendations for you, if they use those keywords because someone else used that keyword in reference to you, that's weighted more heavily. Same things with honors and awards. And, they don't have to be actual awards. Anything that you felt was an honor, maybe being asked to speak to the Rotary, maybe being asked to speak at a conference, on a panel, those are honors, those get featured. So use as many of those as possible and think about how you can fit those important keywords in them. And additionally, as I said, use a 2 to 3 word phrase. You want to use the words together, the phrase together as often as possible, but also having those individual words separate throughout the profile additionally helps, because most people do not put quotes around their search terms. They'll just put financial advisor. And if you're using financial and advisor together in a few places, as well as the word financial and the word advisor in a whole bunch of places, it will add up and it will definitely help. It's better to use them individually if you have to than to not use them at all. So Now you may be wondering, how do I know? LinkedIn used to show us what the keywords were that led to our profile. That does not happen anymore. In the stats under who's viewed your profile, you can go in and you can take a look and see where are the keywords at in the profile that led people. And if most of your search terms are coming from your first and last name, then you know most of the people who are searching, who come to your profile, already know who you are. If they are showing up in some of the other fields where you know your keywords are, then that's one thing to let you know a little bit better that, well, I must be fairly well optimized because people are finding me by the keywords that are in these other sections that I know that I've manipulated. So that's how you can kind of figure out, did they do a good job? Okay, mistake number 5, not using LinkedIn's advanced search to find prospects. Now, if you guys are not using LinkedIn's advanced search at this point, and if you haven't heard of it, your eyes are really going to be open here. I'm going to run through really quick an example of how you can find perfect prospects in introduction away. LinkedIn's advanced search capabilities, if you think about it, LinkedIn's nothing more than a huge database. And when I saw this, it was just like, okay, this is a game changer, this advanced search. Now, everything that doesn't have one of these gold logos is available to you using LinkedIn as a free member. There's a lot of power still in this as a free member. You do not have to go premium, though I do recommend it if you're actively going to be using this. So the example we're going to be using is that we are a logistics and shipping company, and we're looking to find the people who are in authority, who provide or who manage the shipping and logistics services within their company. And we're looking for people who we're able to get introduced to, because we are professional salespeople. We want to get that nice warm introduction to increase our likelihood of success. So the first filter we're going to play around here with is the relationship. This is the game changer among all social networks. The ability to slice and dice these searches by the level of your network is the most powerful thing out there. We're going to focus on the second degree because that's the direct referral relationship. We see exactly who's connecting us to our prospect so that we can develop that strategy, we can ask for that introduction. Then the next field we're going to go down to is we're going to go over to the title, and we're going to play around with some keywords. Now, if you get to be a really good searcher and you understand the usage of what are known as Boolean connectors, you can develop some very powerful searches even at the free level. So in the title, we're going to put in the phrase shipping, a capital OR, logistics, capital NOT, consultant. What we're doing is we're looking for anyone who has the word shipping or the word logistics in their title, but not anyone who also has the word consultant, because someone who is a shipping logistics consultant is our competitor, and we don't want to work with them. We're also going to make sure we want to find only people who have those terms in their current title. The company name. Now, we want to make sure we're getting people who have these words, shipping and logistics, in their title, who don't work for my competing companies. And if I don't do something with the company field, I'm going to end up with probably a whole bunch of competitors. And so in the company field, we're going to do a capital NOT, that's one of our Boolean terms, and then in parentheses, we're going to do logistics or shipping or transportation. So that means we're not going to find anyone who works for a company that does shipping, that does transportation, that does logistics. And of course, we're going to say we only want people who have that currently in their title. And what I end up here with is a search that has over 2,300 people. And you'll notice the little green link under there that says shared connections. And when you click on it, it will show you who are the people connecting you to the prospect you want to get in front of. And so those are the people who can make that introduction. So then it's a matter of just picking up the phone, sending them an email saying, hey, I see you're connected to Greg. Would you mind introducing me? That's where your sales skills, that's Art's area of expertise. I tell people, I'll show you how to find all these prospects, but if the conversation to get in front of them, that's Art's ground. And so he can help you with that, and he will in the second part of our profile, of our presentation here. But now, what if you were premium? Let me show you a little bit different how these search results come through when you are a premium person. So here I'm going to be able to use the seniority level filter. I say I only want VPs or directors, and I don't have to do that with keywords. I also want to work with kind of smaller, mid-sized companies, so I can set the company size to 201 to 1,000 employees. So that means I'm not going to get shipping logistics people from those really super huge enterprise-level Procter & Gamble types of companies. I want my small companies. And when I do that, that brings me down to 79. So now I know these are people who are shipping and logistics with companies that are the right size for the services I offer. But one last little tweak, what about location? Maybe you're a location-based regional type of salesperson. You can use the location filter where you put in the metro areas, or you can even use the postal code out to a 100-mile radius and zip that down even more. So if we add some location parameters, saying I want only people in Chicago, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, that'll bring me down even tighter. So big numbers in your search results are not good. You want small numbers because then you know you got really highly targeted, really good prospects. Now, here's the best part. If you didn't think that was great enough, here is the best part. LinkedIn allows you to save these searches. As you just noticed, there's a lot of keywords, a lot of really, right formatting and everything for me to get that. Trying to remember every single time exactly what you did can be difficult. LinkedIn allows you to save the searches. At the free level, you can save 3 of them. And what they'll do that's even better is if you notice that the little column there that says alert, every single week, LinkedIn will send you an email message that says, hey, here are the new prospects to meet your search criteria. Here are brand new leads right in your inbox. How awesome is that? And so is anyone else just emailing you leads, prospects that you can get introduced to? So you can save those and you can set that up. Additionally, anytime you want, you can come in here. If you notice the column next to it says new, you can just click on the new people that meet those criteria and not have to go through all the search results that you've already gone through. So, this is an ongoing active search without you doing anything once you've set it up. So really, really powerful stuff. So mistake number 6, not engaging in your newsfeed. Now, a lot of people are wondering, well, I need to do status updates, right? I have to put stuff out there, but I don't know what to put. And, it can be really difficult trying to put status updates out that, get engagement and get visibility. Here, I'm the ninja, and even me, I had one status update I did that over 11 days only got 102 views. But I had another one that in less than 1 day had over 1,300. It's hard to know what people are going to grab on and catch on. And so getting visibility by doing your own status updates can be tricky. But the thing is, you don't necessarily need to, because doing comments and liking and engaging with the status updates of the people you're connected to, that's going to guarantee you get visibility beyond just your network. You're automatically getting out to the other people. So here's Chris. Chris is actually an executive over at LinkedIn, and he works in the financial vertical for Selling Sales Navigator, which is my vertical as well. And so when he shares something, I comment on it. I know that Chris is connected to a whole bunch of executives at major financial companies and financial advisors and banks and the like, and those are the people I want to do business with. So when I comment on his status updates, I get visibility to my network because it goes out to my network, but I also get visibility to his entire network. Additionally, anyone else who's engaged with his status update, I'm visible to their network. So if you look for status updates that already have comments and likes, so I'm visible to Chris's. At the time I did this was 1,300, my own 2,800 at the time, plus this Michael Thompson. However, I get visibility to them. Or I could do my own status update and risk maybe only getting 100 views. So you really get a lot greater visibility by engaging with other people. So mistake number 7, not following company pages. LinkedIn's company page platform allows companies to interact and engage and share content just like a person. So they can do a status update and you can comment and engage with it. And in order to see their status updates, that's why you follow the company page. So you may be wondering, well, what company should I follow? Well, obviously your clients, anyone who's on your prospect list, but also too think about, well, what companies would my prospects follow? Who would they be watching? Because you can engage in these status updates. For example, here, Broadbridge, they just had a turnover in their management. Well, maybe you were trying to get into this. Maybe this was a prospect client or a prospect company, and you've been trying to get in and you kept getting turned down. Well, the person you're approaching, now he's out of the picture. Now this new guy is in, and you can do a comment on here. And look, he even came back and added his own comment at the end, so you can get visibility. You can get on their radar. You can start to warm up the potential for the connection by engaging. So think about who your prospect would be watching, because when you comment, you're now visible to them in their status updates. Now, I'm going to throw in one bonus mistake here really, really quick. And, this, after I went through the 7, Art and I decided we wanted 7. I'm like, okay, for the advanced users out there, the 16%, I'm going to get to the end of number 7. They're going to be thinking, okay, Crystal, you did 7, the 7 top mistakes, and you didn't touch anything about groups. How could you do that? Well, the reason I didn't put that in the top is because groups are so complex. Whoever creates the group, it's their sandbox. They set the rules. They get to decide who comes in. They get to decide who can post what. They get to decide, whether or not you can stay in. And if you break the rules, you can easily get kicked out. But yes, they are very powerful. And so I will say that you definitely need to be using groups. And LinkedIn has even found that you're 70% more likely to get an appointment on an unexpected sale if you join LinkedIn groups. And the reason is that LinkedIn actually values the relationship within groups higher than a third degree. And so if you're in the groups where your prospects are, and those are the groups you need to be in, when they run their searches, they're going to see their first degree, the second degree, then their third degree, then their group people. So if you're in a group with them, you'll show up higher in their search results. So you want to make sure that you're in groups, one, to get greater visibility. But additionally, I went too far back. Hold on one quick second. What you want to do is that you want to join them. You want to join those where your target market is. Pay attention to the rules. You don't want to get kicked out, especially if it's a highly valued group. Watch for discussions of value, engage, connect. That's more important than posting your own content. If you have really great content to be posting, then please do so if it fits within the rules. But just commenting, just adding value, and then inviting those people to connect after you've had that inside group conversation, that's how you're going to build your network organically and naturally. So that is kind of my part. I know a lot of people who attend these webinars that we do are often interested in connecting with me. I'm not a lion, an open networker, so if you are interested when you invite me to connect, just please mention that you're on the webinar, and I'll be happy to immediately accept that. Otherwise, you'll be getting a message back asking a bit more about the invitation to connect. So that is my part of it. I know I talked really, really fast, but we will be sticking around later at the end for questions if you have any.
All right. Well, thank you, Crystal. As always, you shared a lot of great information in a short period of time, and for everybody out there, I got to tell you, it just really scratched the surface of what Crystal knows about LinkedIn and how we as salespeople can use it. I just got a message here I saw in the question box from Thomas, who said he already made a change to his profile while you were talking, Crystal. He's multitasking. All right.
Oh, well, that's good.
Now, I'm going to deliver for you what many salespeople struggle with. What do we do and say to create interest instead of resistance when you're reaching out and speaking to buyers? Now, let me reemphasize that last point. In order to sell, you still need to pick up the phone and talk to someone. Now, I know this is going to upset the social media and the calling is dead crowd that believes that you can tweet and blog and Facebook and share content, and that's the sales 2.0 way to sell because people seek you out in droves. Well, hey, the reality is those are all great complements to actually talking to people. I use them extensively myself, but if you rely on them solely, following the advice of some of the gurus selling their social media courses, you're going to go broke. The fact is, calling works. It's the fastest and cheapest way to engage in a sales conversation with someone that you want to do business with without waiting around for a marketing or social media prospect to contact you. You can go broke waiting and hoping for business. People have. But, of course, true cold calling does not work. You probably know, you know that if you've tried it, right? Pure cold calling, but smart calling does. And that is using the power of LinkedIn and other intelligence that we're going to cover here in a minute, combining it with my proven smart calling process that helps you to get through and engage buyers. Thousands of salespeople worldwide are smart calling every day, and entire sales departments and divisions, big and small, have implemented my smart calling process for their prospecting. Matter of fact, if you look at the over 125-star reviews of both editions of my Smart Calling book on Amazon, you'll see the comments or the common theme of how people who hated prospecting before find this process easy to use, conversational, and not salesy. So we're going to dive in, and I'm going to show you what to do and say and give you some examples. But first, I want to ask you a question. So the biggest sales challenge I face is, so go ahead and pick one of those if you would, finding prospects, getting email and voice messages returned, getting to decision makers, creating interest on first calls. I guess I probably should have put all of the above there, but I guess we just have to pick one. All right, let's take a look at the results here. And looks like most of you getting email and voice messages returned. And then behind that, getting to decision makers, creating interest on first calls. Oh, fear of rejection, only about 1%. Hey, that's pretty good. Okay, well, we're going to focus on actually all of those. So let's talk about first defining why people would buy from you. I call this your possible value proposition. This is an area that causes salespeople to fail. Very simply, it's just not having a reason why someone would be interested in speaking with you, let alone buy from you. This might come as a shock to some people, but buyers don't care how great you think your product or service is. They care about one thing. What do you think that is? Themselves, that's right. And for them to be interested in having anything to do with you, they've got to see very quickly how you might be able to provide a result that would help them get something they want or avoid something they don't want. It's that simple. Your possible value proposition is the answer to the what's in it for me question that everyone asks themselves when they read or hear your communication. And without a strong, focused, customized possible value proposition, you're just another salesperson pitching what he or she wants to pitch. Well, maybe just one with some LinkedIn information. Now, when that happens, prospects get into a defensive, resistant frame of mind since they smell a sales pitch coming, and that's why emails and voicemails are ignored. So you got to include a possible value proposition in any communication with your prospects. That includes your in-mails, emails, voicemails with screeners, and of course in your opening statement when you get them live. Now, some people call it an elevator speech or simply a value prop. I call it a possible value proposition because we're speculating it will be of interest. Granted, it should be very educated speculation, but we don't know for sure until we speak with them, right? Now, this point is critical, and I suggest you write this down. Feel free to tweet it out as well. Your possible value is not the thing or the stuff that you sell. It is always the result. It's the picture of the end result with them in the picture. Now, this might seem like sales 101 for some of you. Well, wait a minute. What am I apologizing for? Sure, it's the basics. It's common sense. Like I tell you, from my experience of listening to tens of thousands of sales calls and doing over 1,500 training programs, it's an area where sales reps are the weakest. So what would your possible value proposition look like? Well, psychologists tell us that people are typically motivated by the desire to gain or by the fear of pain or loss. So what results do you deliver in those areas? For example, a software sales rep should not say, oh, clients want good customer service. That's what we give them. Well, hey, that's vague. A more visual answer would be, users want their technical support calls answered the first time they call without being put on hold or having to leave a message. That's easier to visualize, isn't it? It stirs more emotion, which is what we want to do to get people to move in our direction. So other examples of helping buyers get something of value would include increased targeted web traffic resulting in more click-throughs and sales, larger average sale on inbound calls, more productivity per hour on the assembly line, getting their audio projects done and online and producing revenue more quickly if you're in that business, Examples of avoiding pain or loss, avoiding costly lawsuits, avoiding fines because of noncompliance with state regulations. And I'll let you go through the other ones there on the screen. So define what you might be able to do for your listeners, your prospects. And I'm going to have you do that, of course, when we get off the call here. So that's the first step in defining your possible value proposition. Now, a couple tips here when you're doing that. First, quantify the result whenever you can in terms of dollars and or time. And whenever you can, use social proof, meaning what you've done for someone else. That adds credibility. Okay, so let's talk about personalizing that possible value. This is how we really create interest. So I'm going to show you what separates you from other salespeople so that you don't sound like that typical salesperson at all, and that's customizing that possible value with personalized smart call intelligence that's relevant for your prospects. And if you don't do this, you're going to sound like that time-wasting salesperson that everybody wants to avoid. Now, placing a smart call is the difference between, say, a direct mail form letter and a handwritten personalized note. You grab attention, create curiosity, you generate interest when you deliver a one-to-one message that is all about the individual who's hearing it. So what information are you looking for? Well, to simplify things, we're looking for facts, the most basic information that we need about a prospect, what they do, what they sell, how many locations, any of the details essential to what you sell. We're also looking for situational information. That's anything that's going on in your prospect's world that creates circumstances where they could be more likely to buying from you. For example, these are known as trigger events. I'll give you an actual example of this. A couple of months ago, my web hosting company had a major outage that shut down my sites and my email for about 20 hours. That was a huge trigger event that got me looking at new hosting companies. Now, how about personal information? This is huge. What information can you get about your prospects? Well, you're going to get a lot on LinkedIn. Of course, their professional, educational background, what they say about themselves, their interests, awards, memberships, anything they've published. And for other information, there is more available to us than at any time in history. Go to their site, of course, of Google for sure. Hey, for one of the best sources of how to most effectively research prospects online, I suggest a resource for you. It's a book from Sam Richter, R-I-C-H-T-E-R. The book is called Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling. And it's not a book on sales or cold calling. It's on how to gather intelligence online. So take the cold out of cold calling. Now, I also want you to use the best source of real-time, accurate intelligence, and that's from people within your prospect's company. That means doing social engineering, which is simply calling into your prospect's organization and asking questions of people other than your decision maker. Yeah, that's right. You can speak with anyone who might have some information for you. For example, at the switchboard level, for those companies who still have switchboards, you can get some of the most basic information. You can get better information, of course, the further up you go. Talk to users of your product or service. Talk to the executive assistant of the buyer. Personally, I like to call into the sales department because we all know salespeople like to talk, right? And I ask questions about their prospecting, how they do it, how they're trained, quotas for prospecting calls, if they're successful, why or why not. It gives me some great information that I use when I call into the actual decision maker because now I already know some of their problems and challenges, and you can do the same thing. Here's how. So here's the process. First, identify yourself and your company. Then use that magic H word, ask for help. Then you want to justify your reason for asking questions, and this is proven to get you more and better information. And then you're going to let them know that you'll be asking questions. So let me give you an example of this. So, hi, I'm Art Subcheck with Business by Phone, and I'm going to be speaking with Dale Scott, your VP of Sales there, and I want to make sure that what I have is going to be of some value to him, and I'd like to ask you a few questions. And then you go into the questions. So my justification there was I want to make sure that what I have is going to be of value. Now, if you're not doing this, you're going to be amazed at what you get. Trust me on this. The sales pros who now benefit from my smart calling process will tell you that just by asking, they're able to get valuable information that then they are able to plug into in mails and voicemails and on the phone live to generate interest with their prospects. Okay, so it's showtime, pulling it all together into messaging that gets people interested in ultimately taking some action. Now, before I give you examples of what to do, I got to give you some examples of what not to say that pretty much guarantees resistance. Over the past almost 32 years now of studying and listening to tens of thousands of calls, as well as, of course, placing my own, I've compiled a list of about 25 things that you need to avoid saying on your opening statements and in your voicemails and really in any communication because it generates more resistance than interest. And I'm going to cover just a few of the most common and costly ones right now. First is any mention of your product or service without an accompanying result statement. Again, people don't buy what you sell. They buy a picture of the end result with themselves in the picture. They can put up resistance to any mention of a product, as in, hey, I'm with Dunlap Services. We're a local messenger service, and I'd like to talk to you about your messenger needs. Well, in response to that, people could very easily say, oh, we don't need that, or we're satisfied with who we're using, and they often do, right? So if we mention a product or service without the result, normally we're going to incite resistance. Results are much tougher to reply negatively to. Next, asking for a decision or even hinting at one. This is the one error that has likely caused more calls to go down in flames than any other. It's asking for a decision or just even hinting at one. Think about this. They don't see a reason to stay on the phone with you for a few more seconds, let alone make a decision that could cost them time or money. An example of this is when a sales rep calls and opens with, hey, I'd like to talk to you about becoming one of your vendors. Or, we've got some great products, and I'd like to come out there and discuss them with you. Would 3 on Thursday be good? Now, granted, all those requests could be an end result, but it's far too early to ask for a decision or even hint at one in the opening. All right, let's look at one more here, and that is being assumptive and using declarative statements. So don't tell prospects what you will do in your opening. Don't tell them that you will save them money. Don't tell them that you will help them increase sales. Avoid saying that they will lower their costs and increase their profits. What? Yeah, that's right. You want to avoid using definitive, declarative statements in the first few seconds of your calls. Why? Well, because even though you probably do believe you could make them money, save them money, cut costs, and you probably can, what's important is that they might not believe that yet. They're not there yet. All of those statements make the assumption that something's wrong with their business or company or situation. Again, something might be, but let's turn the tables. Put yourself on the receiving end of this. If someone you don't know or respect yet gives you unsolicited advice and tells you that you're doing something wrong, what's your response? Naturally, you resent it. You become defensive. The same thing is true on the phone with a prospect. They don't want to hear your assumptions about their problems. So if you make those kinds of bold statements early before they've bought into the concept that you might indeed be able to deliver some value, you run the risk of creating resistance. Okay, so those are 3 of the biggest mistakes from my list. I'll point out a few more right now using specific LinkedIn examples. So that brings me to the specific messaging to use. Let's look at some LinkedIn scenarios. So let's talk about calling connections. So you made some connection requests, right? You have them accepted. Let's say you're going through your list of existing LinkedIn connections. You decide to call some. Well, here's what you don't want to say. Hey, I'm Pat Seller with Infinite Industrial. We're connected on LinkedIn, and I'd like to meet with you so I could show you our line of market-leading bearings and fittings. Well, instead, let's look at everything I've talked about so far. A much better alternative would be, hi, Mike, I'm Pat Seller with Infinite Industrial. Hey, thanks for accepting my LinkedIn connection request. As I mentioned in the request, understand that you're tooling up for a new release and uptime's a top concern of yours. Well, with a couple of other component manufacturers in the same situation, we've been able to help them ensure. Now, Notice, we're using our intelligence here, and we're talking about the result of what we can do, not the thing. All right, let's talk about fellow group members. So you followed Crystal's advice. You got involved with targeted groups with your prospects. You got to be careful here. This is what you don't want to say. Hey, Karen, Bill Bland here, Superior Software. Hey, we're both members of the Quality Software Testing LinkedIn group, and since you're in that group, I'm sure you'd be interested in our performance testing software, and I'd like to schedule a time with you for a demo. Whoa, wait a minute. Again, just because you're both in the same club doesn't mean they'd want to marry you. So here's an alternative. Hi, Karen. Bill Bland here with Superior Software. Hey, really liked your response to the redundancy question the other day in the Quality Software Testing discussion group on LinkedIn. And I also saw your question about what people are doing to test specific elements of their shopping cart. Well, we've done a white paper on that showing some unique methods that cut down on abandonments that have resulted in millions in increased sales that otherwise might have been lost, and be happy to share that with you. So again here, the group membership is used, but not as the sole basis for a conversation, much less buying from you. All right, so how about common affiliations or interests? There are likely hundreds of thousands of graduates of your alma mater. Now, they all can't and wouldn't do business with the rest of the alma mater, right, or the alumni, right? In fact, there's lots of people that you and I didn't even like in school. So you wouldn't want to open up with something like this one. Hey, I see in your LinkedIn profile we both went to Arizona State, class of 94 here. Go Devils. Think we finally got on the right track with that football program. Don't know about basketball, though. Anyway, I see you're a logistics manager there, and I sell trucking services, so I'm thinking a fellow ASU grad would want to work with another. Oh, I hear you laughing out there. I've actually heard that. Yeah. Now, instead, if there are some common bonds there, touch on them. Sure, use them. Touch on it briefly, but then move quickly to the value. They want to discuss it later. That's great. So here, for example, we touch on the fact that we're both ASU grads, but then we get into the social engineering, because in speaking with one of your shipping managers, I hear that initiative you have this year is, so there we're sharing our Smart Call intelligence. Then we share the value. We've done that with 8 other shippers in the past month. And then we end by, I'd like to ask you a few questions, okay? All right. So at the beginning, I mentioned I'm going to share something with you that I only shared with some of my paying clients, the template. And it's a fill-in-the-blanks template that you can use combining your LinkedIn and social engineering intelligence with my Smart Call process for great opening statements and voicemail messages. Here it is. Now, you don't have to scramble to write this down because it's going to be in the slides that I'm going to tell you how to download here in a second. But what you want to do, where you see in red, that's where, of course, you're filling in the blanks. So, hi, Mr. Prospect, I'm with. Then you use your Smart Call connection or intelligence. Then we get into our value. We specialize in working with, so you can talk about their title, the type of company, the organization, who or that. Now, you describe a situation or problem. And we help them too. Now we're talking more about the possible value, which means now we're further describing the value. So we're really stacking the value here. And then at the end, we're giving some social proof. So again, you're going to get that in the slides, but let me give you an actual example of this. Hi, Pat, Art Subcheck here, President of Business by Phone. Hey, I saw your post in the LinkedIn Inside Sales group we both participate in. And I see you're looking for a prospecting workshop for your national sales meeting. Well, we specialize in working with sales teams that have new business quotas, helping them to use a proven prospecting process. That means they're able to confidently get through to and sell to new buyers. And matter of fact, my most recent clients already opened up 10 new accounts in a week, more than they did in the past 3 months. And if I reach you at a good time, I'd like to ask you a few questions. So there you go. Now, again, you'll get that actual template that you're going to be able to use. So those are just a few examples of messaging using your customized possible value proposition, using your LinkedIn intelligence and connections and other Smart Call information. So bottom line, in order to sell, you got to be speaking with people and combining Crystal's LinkedIn instructions with my Smart Calling information. And if you do that, you are going to sell more, you're going to get through more often, you're going to be more successful, you're going to make more money. Now, a few things here for you. First of all, big thank you for staying with us through the whole webinar. We've enjoyed providing you with this valuable free training, and so many people have been through this in the past, have told us that it made a huge difference in their prospecting and sales, and was some of the best LinkedIn training they've ever seen. Now, I've got another question for you. Did we deliver on our promise to you here today? If we did, go to your question box there. Just type a quick yes, quick yeah, heck yes. If you would, please. Let's see. All right, those are streaming in again. Heck yes, yep. Ooh, yeah, hell yeah. Good, I like it. All right. So we know that there are many of you who are really serious about getting the most out of LinkedIn, about going to the next level and using the many other tips and secrets that the real power users who are getting the big business use. So before we get to the Q&A, I want to tell you how you can get the free gifts for attending, and I also have a special offer here for you. So what you're going to get another bonus LinkedIn webinar. In our LinkedIn for Sales Success comprehensive course, we did a couple bonus webinars, live webinars. You're going to get access to one that Crystal did where she actually does some LinkedIn makeovers. This is awesome because you might be making some of the same mistakes that she corrected in some of those profiles. You're also going to get the slides from today, including all of those screenshots, all of the scripts, the LinkedIn template. And then this is a huge one. I've never done this before except for people that have paid me money, okay? But I will personally review your own call opening or voicemail message, and there's instructions at that page. There's also a link to it on the right-hand side where I think it says free gifts for attending. But if you go to that link, you're going to go to the page, simply enter your email address. You'll be taken, or actually you'll get an email with a link to go to the page that will show you how you can get all those bonuses and also how to get your opening statement reviewed. Now, one more thing here. When you're there at that page, you can take advantage of a special offer we have for you for our LinkedIn for Sales Success comprehensive course. Today, we barely scratched the surface of what you can do to use LinkedIn to get new business. Crystal and I have created this course. It takes everything you've seen here where we've, again, just scratched the surface. Both Crystal's LinkedIn awesome information and strategies and proven in the trenches techniques and my smart calling training that's focused on LinkedIn information. And what we do is we elevate that and you to the next level. So it's really like this webinar on steroids. If you at all liked what you saw here today, we both go into tremendous detail on all the topics we covered here and much, much more. Now, I'm not going to give you a pitch on it here. On the page you're going to go to, there's a video that explains it. It shows you everything, and you can scroll down to see more examples and explanations on that page as well as a special offer. Now, this course won't be for everyone, but if you really want to use LinkedIn, not just own an account, if you want to get in and sell instead of being ignored and rejected, we urge you to check out that program. All right, so, Crystal, I know you got a bunch of questions there. You got some picked out?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. And let's see here. First one is, is there an optimal length for an in-mail? I mean, there's no set character length. I think in-mail comes to the point of what is it you're trying to make happen. I mean, just like email marketing, you are not going to sell your product and service with a cold in-mail to someone who doesn't know who you are. So if you want to make your goal to get some kind of a connection or to send them to some kind of a freebie, like a webinar, a white paper, or something of that nature that would be a lead generator for you, if you're, whether you're using regular LinkedIn messages or the in-mails, you also want to try to position those to their benefit and not just be pushing you. To me, the big thing with an in-mail is what is the benefit to them that's going to make them say, I got to pay attention to this. Like one of my best subject lines I use in doing any kind of cold in-mails or messages through LinkedIn is just simply sharing some info to help you find a new client using LinkedIn. Everybody wants to find a new client, so they're at least going to open it up and look at it. So how do you position that? You don't want it to be longer than it needs to, and do not try to sell the product or service in the in-mail. You want to sell why they need to have a phone call or connect with you or do something, much less drastic because you'll never sell a product and you'll be marked as spammer. And if you get marked as spammer too much on LinkedIn, they will shut you down. So you have to be careful about that. Let's see. The next one there, Art, is actually, I think, more for you. When leaving voicemails and emails, I always try to market a candidate they need from opening on their website. What am I doing wrong? Do you want to tackle that one, or do you want me just to jump to another LinkedIn?
Actually, let me take a look here. I'm sorry, I was reading through those. I didn't see that. They need from open.
Okay, Laura Morrison is up towards the top.
Why don't you go ahead and answer another one? Let me look at that one.
Okay. What are the rules for mentioning your product in a group discussion? It depends on what the group owner sets. If you go in, every group you go into, if you open up the little info box, there's like a big banner at the top of each of the groups. There's a little link that says group rules. Click on that and open it up. The group owner gets to decide. You know, there are some groups that are free-for-alls. They're really just all about self-promotion, and then there are some really good, really well-developed groups that don't even let you mention your product, don't let you even share any kind of a link. And just because you can't do that, that doesn't mean you can't make money from them. I've gotten clients from groups that you're not allowed to self-promote, and that's just through when someone else asks a question that's in my area of expertise that I just simply come in and add value. And so there are no set rules. It's a group-by-group discussion, which is why that was the bonus mistake and not one of the top ones, because it depends. That's really the best answer.
Okay.
You want me to keep moving on?
I see that question there, and now I get it. I didn't understand it. It looks like it's coming from a person who is works for a placement agency. So the question is, when leaving voicemails and emails, I always try to market a candidate that they being the prospect, need from openings on their website. So I'm assuming they're doing some research, going to their website. They see that there are some job openings. So the person's asking this question is trying to market that candidate, and they say they're doing it in the voicemail and the email. What am I doing wrong? Well, again, that's one of the mistakes, because your candidate is your product at that point. And remember, they're not necessarily looking just for the product. They want the result of that. The result of that is somebody who is going to do the job that they're looking to have filled and do it in an exceptional way. They're trying to do it in such a way where they don't have to spend a lot of time hiring the right person. So what I would do is, what we're trying to do in the opening is we're trying to pique curiosity and get them to the questioning phase of the call. So what I would probably do, following the formula, is introduce yourself and your organization and say, purpose for the call is I see that you're looking for an online marketing manager for your whatever location. And we specialize in working with organizations like yours to cut down on the amount of time and money that it takes to fill their open positions. Matter of fact, we've worked with a number of companies in your industry helping them fill e-commerce positions. I'd simply like to ask you a couple questions, see if I might be able to provide you some information. So, again, what I'm doing there is I'm not pitching the candidate themselves, and now what it's going to do, really all we're trying to do with the opening is to get them in a positive, receptive frame of mind and then get them to the questioning phase of the call. Because if you say, hey, I've got a person that I want to share with you, I've got a person that I want to pitch to you, it'd be very easy for them to say, okay, just send over a resume, or we don't work with personnel agencies. This way, if we can just pique their curiosity, get them talking, now we've got an opportunity to make a recommendation later.
Okay. So the next one, I'm just going to go down in the order, at least that they're up here on my screen right now, is the question is it a best practice to have two profiles, one for prospecting and one for personal selling, job seeking? Not only is it not a best practice, it's a worst practice to have multiple profiles. It's also against LinkedIn's terms of service, and you may find your profiles vanish because of that. So, you know, I know it's really hard if you're currently employed, but you also are kind of keeping yourself open or actively looking for a new job. You kind of have to balance it. The one thing I will say, as far as positioning your profile more for what's making you money now will also demonstrate, if you're a salesperson, to potential employers that you know what you're doing, which is, to me, at least in my opinion, a plus to do that. And recruiters are looking. They still really do like to pull candidates who are currently employed and not necessarily unemployed. So, not simply blatantly saying, hey, I'm looking for a job, if you're currently employed, is not necessarily going to hurt you from being found. What I tell people in the job seeker in trying to separate the profiles, that in the summary and all the what I call the marketing sections of the profile, really talk to your target market there. Now the experience section, which is kind of the resume section, build that out as a job seeker. And you can move that section all the way down to the bottom where your potential clients aren't necessarily going to see it unless they really scroll all the way down. But anyone who's looking to hire you for a new job, they're going to scroll down until they find that section. There's no way they're not missing that section. So pushing it all the way down, but really building it out then to talk to the next potential client or the next potential employer would be what I would do. That's kind of how you can balance those two things. But no, two profiles, big time no-no. Why do so many people not accept your invitation? There's really been a big switch in tide. I would say if they're not accepting it because you're not personalizing it, which at the end of mine I said I needed to personalize, and I was just going through and accepting a whole bunch of people who said, who added in that invitation to connect, hey, I'm on the webinar, great stuff. And I have a whole bunch of them that aren't personalized. So they're going to kind of sit there, and I have actually, we go in and we ask additional information of people who invite me to connect with just the standard invitation. And so that would be the main one, especially if you don't know the people. People have are moving from the concept of open networking. That's LION stands for LinkedIn Open Networker, which years ago was a big thing. I still remember Lewis House saying, connect with the world on LinkedIn, connect with everyone. And people are realizing, I was like, no, don't connect with everyone. How can you get introduced, get really good, strong, solid introductions if you're connected to thousands of people you have no relationship with? From a sales perspective, unless those connections are your prospect pool, what good are they? So people are moving away from that because of the phishing scams and getting you on spam lists and the like. Because once they're connected, they get your email list. People are suddenly now realizing, you know what? No, I don't just want to willy-nilly connect. Another thing too is your profile completely filled out? Do you have links to websites that provide outside validation? The fake profiles are getting so much better. I even sometimes struggle to pick them out, but I'm still good enough that I think I do find them most of the time, but they're getting really darn good. So outside validation with recommendations is a big thing. So really proving that you're a real person and not a robot on your profile is also going to help with that. But personalize those invitations to connect. Unless you know the person 200% knows who you are and why you'd want to connect with them, you should never send a standard invitation to connect, which that does also bring up, if you're inviting people to connect from a mobile or a tablet, you don't get the opportunity to customize that message. So if you don't know people, don't invite them to connect on anything but the computer where you can customize that message. So let's see here. Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is a brand new animal in the LinkedIn world. It is a separate platform. It's not just the normal premium. It really is a powerful tool if you are a really high volume prospector salesperson. Essentially what it does is it gets all of the social media fluffy stuff out of the way. Your news feed on Sales Navigator are the prospects that you've saved. So the companies are accounts and the individual people are saved as leads, and if they're sharing anything on LinkedIn, that's what feeds the news feed on the homepage. You get to see that kind of information. It does as you develop your searches for who your prospect type is and you save people who you are identifying as leads and prospects, it does start to learn and will start to suggest to you prospects that you may not have uncovered in your searches. So it's really a great tool. It's also not a cheap tool, which is why I say you really got to be doing, spending hours prospecting and on sales calls, I think, a day for that to make sense above the regular premium. Everybody else, if you're hunting, if you're using the advanced search functionality, because of the additional saved searches and the extra search results, and also too, LinkedIn's put new limits on how many searches you can run per month at the free level, but they're not telling you what that limit is. Because of that, everyone else does need to be on regular premium if they're going to be using the advanced search functionality. So you can get by on free for a while, but you will start to feel or hit the ceiling a little bit. What is the best time of day to post in the news feed? For me, I find first thing in the morning, kind of that a lot of people go into LinkedIn, they're just getting in the office, they got their cup of coffee, they're just kind of getting ready, going for the day, let's take a quick look. Also over lunch, if they're sitting at their desk over lunch, is a good time where they kind of go through and scroll through. To me, in my opinion, those are some of the best times to be posting content. But what's really great about the mobile device, and especially for the liking and the commenting and just doing the engaging part, anytime you have 5 minutes with the mobile app, just sit there and you can hit a few likes, and that keeps you front and center no matter what the time is. So when you have those 5 minutes of downtime, that's a great time to jump into LinkedIn and engage with the other status updates. So,
Crystal, I had a question here about our course itself. Apparently somebody had already gone to the page and they wanted to know how long it is and how long they have access to it. Well, it's really two courses in one. It's Crystal's LinkedIn part, and hers is about 8 hours, 9 hours or so, but it's chunked up into smaller videos, which are anywhere from a couple minutes up to 10 or 15 minutes, and mine is about 5 or 6 hours, again, also chunked up. As far as how long you have it, and it's video, it's all online, so it's self-paced, and you can take as long as you want to go through it. We have people that have been going through it for 6 months. They're taking their time. We had one person went through it in several days. How long you have access to it, it's lifetime access, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, probably time for one more question, Crystal.
Only one more? Oh boy, we got so many.
Well, I guess we can go for a couple more. Looks like we still have a lot of people online here.
I don't see exactly how many we have. I mean, I'm happy to sit through and go through these if Inside Sales is happy to keep it open, or if you want to. But we have a lot of questions actually.
I'll tell you what. Let's limit it. Let's take 4 more here because I know there's people that really do need to jump off, but I know there's people still on here with us. So let's pick 4 more here.
Let me see here. Let's see. I covered that one actually. The premium account? How do you find? Well, this is just real quick, the screen with the keywords used. LinkedIn doesn't show that anymore. That's old. I just used that as an example. LinkedIn does not tell us what the keywords are anymore. Supposedly that was coming back for premium, but it's still been almost a year and that's not come back. Advanced search on a prospect title if the prospect has used your headline approach. Well, you still have a title in the title section that has nothing to do with the headline. So if the people you're looking for, as far as putting the keywords in that title field in the advanced search, which I think someone else I saw in there had asked, where is that link? How do you get to it? It's right in there. There's a big search box at the very top in the middle of LinkedIn, and right next to it is a tiny little word that says advanced. That is the link to get to the advanced search box. It is the smallest link in LinkedIn and the most important. But if you are putting the keywords in the title field in that big search box, then most people will put the keywords that you want to think about what would they call their title. So as opposed to like if you're adding the keywords, if you're looking for someone who is a vice president, you would put vice president. You don't have to put the titles exactly. You want to think what's the most common term. So like if you're looking for that shipping person, they may be a shipping coordinator, shipping manager, a shipping director, and that's why I only use the word shipping and not try to put the full title in. So think what are the common terms that they would have. Learning, there may be a director of learning, a director of training. You can play with it that way. Whatever they put in the headline is not going to matter. If you want to find what people put in the headline, there's a keyword, there's a box that's just general keywords that searches to find the keyword anywhere on the profile. That would pull them from the headline. So just think about most of the time your prospects are not salespeople, so they're not necessarily thinking to strategically manipulate their profile the way we are. So they would go with whatever their real title is, and that's what you'd want to search for. Let's see here. LinkedIn says I'm in the top 1% and #1 in my field. What does that mean and what do I do with it? Okay, LinkedIn has this new feature over in the Who's Viewed Your Profile where they're showing you how you rank compared to your network, or if you're an employee compared to other employees in your company, or also if you're not an employee to people in your industry. And they're kind of picking, I guess, the top 100 people or whatever, and doing that. And it's based on profile views. What that means is trying to encourage you to be more active, to get more people to come look at your profile is essentially what it's doing. What they're saying is that anyone above you, people are looking at them more than they're looking at you. And by God, that means you better get your butt active if you want people to be looking at you. So it's a gamification of LinkedIn to try and encourage people to be more active, is essentially what that is. See here. Trying to find something that's a downfall of being a lion. I think that's a pretty good kind of conceptual one to answer here. Downside of being a lion is that you have a network, a first-degree network of a bunch of people that you have no relationship with. Like I say, it does work for some people for their business. If those are the people you're trying to connect with, and that's as far as you want to go, then that's good. If you want to get further out into your network, if you want to get introduced to the next level, and it does come down to a numbers game. On LinkedIn, you can have up to 30,000 first-degree connections. So if you see that first degree as your prospect pool, if you connect with everyone, and you only get 3,000 invitations to connect, so that means you've got to get the other 27,000 people to invite you to connect to get to 30,000. But you're maxed out at a total of 30,000 prospects in using LinkedIn. Now, that's a big number. It may sound good enough, but if you see your prospect pool as the second degree, the people you're connected to are out there and that you can get introduced to them, think, if your potential number is there's 30,000 times 30,000, but on average, most people have approximately 500 connections. So you could get legitimately up to that 30,000 per time, to the 500 or whatever. I'm not a math major. But, so the idea is that actually the number of prospects you have when you have a relationship with the person to get introduced is significantly greater. And so what I tell people is that first degree network, you can connect with people that you don't know. I do suggest testing them out. I just connected with a whole bunch of people who are here on this webinar. They know about me. I have not developed a relationship with them quite yet, but I'll start to watch them and get to know them. But I know that they've connected to me, so they see value in that relationship, and that hopefully they value me enough that if I were to reach out and ask for an introduction, they would help me do that. Be much less likely with someone like that versus someone I know. So you connect with people that you feel confident are willing and open to helping you, no matter what their level. You never know who they're going to connect it to. That to me is where I believe the true value in the network is, and not just having tons of connections. So I think that was about 4.
Yeah, all right. And let me just answer a couple that were a little bit more logistical. Somebody had mentioned that they went to the page and filled out the form and they haven't gotten their email yet. It's pretty likely that ended up in your spam filter, so I would check that if I were you, or use a different email and resubmit, because I guarantee you those go out immediately. If you didn't get it, it definitely got caught somewhere, and somebody said, how do you get a copy of the template? Again, the template will be in the slides. And I do see a number of other questions on there. People are asking for very specific things. What are messages for connecting? What are voicemail messages to leave? What are other scripts? All of that is covered in the course itself. I just don't want to say, well, go buy the course, but we go into tremendous detail in the course itself, and I guarantee you that if you're looking for that level of detail, you're going to be extremely satisfied, and you're going to take your LinkedIn usage and your sales to the next level. So again, we want to thank InsideSales.com for sponsoring the program today. They have a wonderful suite of services. And so on behalf of Crystal Thies, the LinkedIn Ninja, and myself, Art Subcheck, thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.